Now let's talk about what happens when a country can't borrow in its own currency, because that's where the real disasters happen. If you're the United States, or Japan, or the UK, you have a massive advantage. You borrow in your own currency. The US issues debt in dollars, which the Federal Reserve can create. Japan issues debt in yen, which the Bank of Japan can create. This doesn't mean they can borrow infinitely without consequences, but it does mean they can never technically run out of money to pay their debts. They can always create more of their own currency to make payments. This is why the US has never defaulted on its debt, even though the debt level is absurdly high. It's why Japan can carry a debt-to-GDP ratio over 260% without collapsing. As long as people trust the currency, as long as inflation stays somewhat controlled, the government can keep borrowing and the central bank can keep supporting it. But if you're a country that borrows in someone else's currency, you're playing a very different game. And it's a game you can lose. Argentina is the classic example. Argentina has defaulted on its debt 9 times in its history. 9. The most recent was in 2020. Why? Because Argentina borrows in US dollars, not pesos. When Argentina needs to repay its debt, it has to acquire dollars, which means either earning them through exports or borrowing more, which requires convincing international lenders that Argentina is creditworthy, which becomes harder every time it defaults. Argentina can't just print dollars. Only the US Federal Reserve can do that. So when Argentina runs out of dollars, it runs out of options. It either defaults, which destroys its credit rating and makes future borrowing even more expensive, or it undergoes brutal loss, cutting government spending, raising taxes, collapsing the economy to free up dollars to pay creditors. Neither option is good. Greece had a similar problem during the European debt crisis in the early 20s. Greece is part of the Eurozone, which means it uses the euro, which is controlled by the European Central Bank, not the Greek government. Greece can't print euros. It can't devalue its currency to make its debt cheaper. It's locked into a monetary system it doesn't control. So when Greece couldn't pay its debts, it had no way out except to beg for bailouts from the EU and the IMF, which came with conditions that devastated the Greek economy. Unemployment hit 27%. GDP contracted by a quarter. The social fabric tore apart. This is the difference between borrowing in your own currency and borrowing in someone else's. One gives you flexibility, even if it's risky. The other gives you a noose. Turkey is currently walking this line. Turkey borrows in both lira and foreign currencies, but a huge chunk of its debt is in dollars and euros. Turkey's central bank doesn't control dollars or euros, so when the lira collapses, as it has repeatedly over the past few years, Turkey's foreign debt becomes astronomically expensive to repay. Inflation in Turkey hit 85% in 2022. The lira lost 90% of its value against the dollar over 5 years. And yet Turkey keeps borrowing, keeps spending, keeps trying to grow its way out of the crisis because the alternative is default and economic collapse. This is the trap for developing nations. They need to borrow to build infrastructure, to invest in growth. But international lenders demand payment in hard currencies like dollars or euros because they don't trust local currencies. So these countries borrow in foreign currencies, which exposes them to exchange rate risk, which can spiral into disaster if their currency weakens. And the cycle continues. Let's come back to the US and talk about who else owns American government debt, because it's not just the Fed and foreign governments. Social Security holds about $2.7 trillion in Treasury bonds. Medicare holds hundreds of billions more. These are called intragovernmental holdings, which is a fancy way of saying the government owes money to itself. Social Security collects payroll taxes, and when it has more money coming in than it's paying out in benefits, it's required by law to invest the surplus in Treasury bonds. So Social Security lends money to the Treasury, which spends it on other programs, and in return, Social Security gets an IOU plus interest. This worked fine when Social Security was running surpluses, meaning more people were paying into the system than were collecting benefits. But demographics are shifting. The population is aging. Baby boomers are retiring in massive numbers. Social Security is now paying out more in benefits than it collects in taxes, which means it's starting to redeem those Treasury bonds, which means the Treasury has to find the money to pay Social Security back, which it does by borrowing more money from someone else. It's a shell game within a shell game. Medicare is in an even worse position. Healthcare costs are rising faster than inflation. The Medicare Trust Fund is projected to be depleted by 2031, meaning it won't have enough money to pay full benefits. When that happens, either benefits get cut, or taxes get raised, or the government borrows even more to cover the shortfall. State and local governments also hold treasury bonds. So do mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, and individual investors through retirement accounts. If you have a 401k, there's a decent chance some of your money is in treasury bonds, either directly or through a bond fund. The financial system is saturated with government debt. It's the foundation of the entire structure. Banks use treasury bonds as collateral for loans. Pension funds rely on them for steady returns. Foreign governments hold them as reserves. The Fed uses them to conduct monetary policy. They're everywhere, woven into every corner of global finance. And that's why the system can't collapse. Not easily, anyway. Because if treasury bonds fail, if the US government defaults or even looks like it might default, the entire global financial system goes with it. Too much depends on the idea that treasuries are safe. Too many institutions, too many countries, too many retirement accounts are built on that assumption. So the system perpetuates itself. The government borrows because it can. Creditors lend because they have to. The Fed supports it all by buying bonds and creating money, and everyone pretends it's sustainable because the alternative is too catastrophic to contemplate.